You need to start believing God for something. What happens when God gives you a promise and he gives you an instruction is that you're like, yeah. But then as we journey, we start to waver, don't we? We waver. Abraham, I can assure you, wavered, but he didn't waver at the promise. You understand? He wavered at the circumstance. This is what it looks like to waver at the circumstance. God tells you something, and you're like, yeah, light it up. Instagram, give me a selfie. I need a little video. TikTok, what's up? You know, we do all that. We put it all out there. And then we actually begin the journey towards that promise, and we got to go through valleys and rivers and deserts, and we got to climb mountains. And as you climb the mountain, say with me, as I climb the mountain, the atmosphere will change. Most people can't handle it. They can't handle going to the mountain because the atmosphere changes. It goes from hot to cold, to windy, to rainy, to even more cold. And they can't handle the atmosphere changes. They can't handle it. So Jesus said to if you're going to follow the Lord, you got to be prepared for that. You got to tell your soul, look, I don't care if we die here. We're dying following the Lord. Right? We ain't going back to Egypt. We're going that way. And you've got to tell yourself that. You've got to prepare yourself for that. There's wavering. I got stuff right now that God's told me to do. And I waver because I've been working on it for months and months. And I'm like, are you sure? You told me that? And he's like, I told you that, Kevin. And then I go back and I'd go in. And then maybe the next day I'm freaking out again. Are you sure? You told me that. I told you that. You see that? You can go to the Lord 50 times. You can go to the Lord 500 times. He has no problem reassuring you of the promise. Because the reassurance of the promise is what gives us the courage. Because you don't have the courage in yourself. You don't have it. When you look to yourself, you've already failed. When you look to yourself, you have lost. The Bible does not tell us to look to ourselves. It tells us to look to who? The author and the finisher of our faith. Looking unto him. We don't look to ourselves. We look to him. And so when God tells me an instruction and I feel like I'm working on what it is he's telling me, and then I feel like all of the circumstances are shifting around me, you know, pushing against what he's told me to do. Or, here's another one. We get bored doing what he told us to do. And so we get bored with that. So we want a new assignment. And now the Lord's like, no, go back to the assignment I told you. We don't like to do the mundane and the simple things. This is what it means to follow Jesus, Christian. Right? We want to be followers of Jesus, don't we? I got one. Right? Do we want to follow Jesus? Say it with me. Christianity is not a spectator sport. We are to follow the Lord. We are to follow the King. And as we follow him, his kingdom unfolds. It's called manifest, right? Manifest means to make known. And it's also called manifold, unfolding dimensions. You will never experiencing the unfolding dimensions of God's kingdom until you follow him. You will never manifest all of what he has called you to until you follow him. It just won't happen. You have to follow him, and you have to listen to him, and you have to begin that process of doing that. And as you do, these things begin to happen. But God tells us, listen, hold on to what God told you. Did he tell you? Hold on to the confession of faith. Say it. It's okay to waver. Just don't waver at the promise. Say it with me. If I'm wavering at what the Lord has said, I need to go back to him for reassurance. And you can do it all day if you have to. I have been through unbelievable trials, unbelievable valleys. Paul says, I bear in my body the marks of the Lord Jesus Christ. You could run your fingers across my heart and you could read it like Braille, the fights I've been in, the things I've had to do. And every one of them and every fight has cost me more of me. But that's not a bad thing, you see. Because less of me is more of him.